we went through in Malaysia in setting up takaful. As you know, it is important to also understand the state of the insurance during those days, 40 years ago, before we embark upon a takaful project, because we must make sure that the image of insurance would not spill over and being carried over by takaful once takaful industry is established. So in my slide there, I highlighted the fact that in general, the image of insurance at that time, I don't know now, but at that time, it was unpleasant. It was bad. It was not good at all. Why? And it covers both life as well as general insurance businesses. The products are not attractive. It is not consumer friendly, heavily depending on agency, and then sometimes, or most of the time, you're not sure whether when you make a claim, you put a claim, you'll be able to get your money or not. And as you know, they rely heavily on the agent, and the agency at that time was not that professional. A lot of twisting taking place, particularly in the sale of life insurance. I'm not going to go into detail what twisting means. It means that once you take a policy, and then the agent will come back to you asking you to cancel that policy and buy a new one. And I know they give you a lot of good stories about the new policy that they wanted to sell. So as a result of that, you lose a lot of money as a consumer. And therefore, in general, as I said, the image was not good. Therefore, when we want to start a new system, particularly an Islamic one, we must make sure that all those pitfalls, all those negative images must be eradicated in the case of what we want to do. So the unique part in Malaysia is that the government was involved right from the beginning. I remember at that time I was working in a bank. That's what Dato Dr. Jamil mentioned in his earlier remark. And that was in 1978. At that time, there was a big talk in Malaysia on the proposal to establish an Islamic banking in Malaysia. There were a lot of parties, particularly from the Middle East, came over to Malaysia, came over to see the people in the Ministry of Treasury, including, I understand, the Minister of Finance at the time, offering their services and offering also probably the investment to begin incorporating Islamic banking in Malaysia. But Malaysia, the government, took a different stand. If we want to do Islamic banking system or Islamic financial system, then we do it from our own perspective. So what the government did was that the government first formed a body comprising of professionals, scholars, Islamic scholars, and government officials, legal experts and whatnot, bankers, to look into the establishment of Islamic Bank at that time. So the body was called the National Steering Committee for the Establishment of Islamic Bank in Malaysia. So it happened that one of my friends, actually my boss also, working in the bank that I was working, he was roped into that what we call National Steering Committee. I don't mind mentioning his name. It's Allah Yarham, Dato Dr. Abdul Halim. He's a well-known Islamic economist in Malaysia. Then he called me saying that we have been deliberating Islamic banking, but then came one subject among our committee member, he said, among the National Steering Committee member, is that the requirement for insurance. once an Islamic bank is established, therefore we need an insurance system which complies with the Sharia requirement. So at that time, I was working in an insurance company. And he said, I don't have anybody, and not many Muslim Malays were, at that time were at the management level working in the insurance industry in Malaysia 40 years ago, 40, 50 years ago. I happened to join, leaving the bank, I joined an insurance company, a Malaysia National Insurance Company. Then that's how I was involved, because he told me that the committee is going to recommend to the government to set up another body. It is called a task force. So it is called the task force to establish, or the task force to study the establishment of an Islamic insurance system, or insurance company in Malaysia. So the term takaful did not appear at that time. We only knew about Islamic insurance. So the chairman of that task force was Tan Sri Dato Ahmad Ibrahim. Dato Dr. Jamil was together with him at UIA. He was the Sheikh of Kuliah, Faculty of Law at the Islamic International University, Malaysia. So the wisdom of those elders, I remember, we have to look into it objectively, he said, because if we immediately say that it is called Islamic insurance, therefore we say that the existing insurance companies were haram, although it is not Islamic, but we do not want to be accused of one labeling that company as haram in the context of Malaysia, the sensitivity of Malaysia. So that's how the approach then. Then I remember we had the opportunity to visit a number of countries. At that time, we knew that there were at least two so-called Islamic insurance companies to be about established. One was in Sudan, one was in Saudi. And the one in Sudan actually was at that time under the Faisal Islamic Bank Group, Islamic Faisal Group, which was based in Switzerland. So in fact, we did go to Switzerland, to the Faisal Group headquarters in Geneva. Then when we were there, we knew that they were not yet fully operational, but when we were in Geneva, then only we knew that the term takaful was to be established. In fact, I remember I was there as part of the delegation. They gave us a draft, what we call it in insurance term, the policy draft, or the certificate, the takaful certificate for family takaful, for the life side. So the word, the term, the terminology takaful was used rather than Islamic insurance. And then at the same time, we were in Saudi, and then we were supposed to go to Sudan because the Sudan Islamic Insurance Company, in actual fact, was part of the Faisal Group, and Faisal had at that time the Islamic Bank of what they call the Faisal Islamic Bank. So the relationship is that when there is a bank, Islamic bank to be established, the requirement for Islamic insurance is important. So the similar thing happened in Malaysia, because in Malaysia, we began to look into Islamic insurance when there was a project or there was a plan to set up Islamic banking in Malaysia. So to ensure that the whole operation of the bank complies with Sharia, the insurance part that bank may require should also be in conformity with Sharia. So that was the scenario then. So when we did not go to Sudan because the Islamic Insurance Company of Sudan had a branch in Jeddah. So we met the manager of the branch of that particular Islamic Insurance Company of Sudan. And coincidentally, it happened that the general manager of the Faisal of the Islamic Insurance Company in Sudan was also in Jeddah. So we met him. I forgot his name. He's from Pakistan. So then only I knew that we were told earlier in Malaysia when we discussed the paper. There was an exposure paper written by Dato Dr. Ahmad Ibrahim, Allah Yarham, an exposure paper on the proposed Islamic insurance system, the system of Islamic insurance. In the nutshell, sorry, the paper concluded that under the Islamic insurance system, the consumer, the public, the user, the policyholder, but we term it in Takaful, the participant would enjoy free cover. That was in his paper. I remember that particular phrase, free cover. And I was then working in an insurance company. When I went back to the office, I had a discussion with my boss then, and we began to wonder, to ponder, how could in business we give free cover? Then when we were in Jeddah, when we listened to the operation, to the business structure, to the working practice of Islamic insurance system, then only we knew what Allah Yarham Dato Ahmad Ibrahim meant by free cover. Under the Islamic insurance system, the contribution or the premium is considered as an investment, part of investment, as well as a donation to help fellow participants if any of them should suffer a catastrophe and as a result suffered a loss. But after paying all the losses, if the pool had a surplus, and that surplus is to be shared with the participant, something like that in general. And I remember I asked the two companies working, operating in Jeddah, one the branch of the Islamic Insurance Company of Sudan, and the other one was I forgot the name actually, it's too long. That was under the Dallah Group, that time under the Dallah Group. And they said that they paid back after 1 year upon this. They only at that time undertook to provide general insurance only. I mean, to cover assets, not the life side yet. So they said they will be able to pay back. I think they were in the second year of operation. The first year they managed to pay 14% back. So you pay 100, say as a premium or contribution. At the end of the day, then if there is no claim or something like that, then you'll get a return of about $11 something, $11 something, about 11%, 14%, something like that, if I remember vaguely. So then when we came back to Malaysia, the National Task Force then put a report to the government saying that, number one, I mentioned in the slide there somewhere, that if we want to establish the what they call Islamic insurance system in Malaysia, then we should adopt the term takaful, which means joint guarantee. So it is not like one party accepting the risk of another party and guarantee to pay, a claim should anything happen to the other party. So takaful means joint guarantee. So in other words, all the participants will join to help each other in case there is a catastrophe that any one of them suffered. And the company or the operator or the body that undertakes the pool to manage the pool, that is the takaful operator, and it is based on trust. So at that time, I'm not a scholar, I'm not a Sharia scholar. We have in the committee Sharia scholars. Um, the contract would be based on the principle of al-mudarabah. And then in the contract there is the tabarruk part of it, and the tabarruk part for takaful is more important rather than the mudarabah. So in other words, if a mishap happens and there is a claim to be established, and therefore the first priority is the tabarruk will trigger, whereby all the participants will agree to pay to the victimized participant whatever the loss. Of course, this is done professionally. We're not going into detail. There is a process. I mean, as far as the um, modern management tools are used also in Takaful. I apply in Takaful. We must make sure that in terms of management, we follow the latest or the modern management principles. So, in the system of takaful or insurance, if there is a loss, when the participant lodges the claim with the insurance company, the company will then, the operator will then appoint an adjuster to check, a surveyor to go and look into the loss. And then they got the details. They then will recommend, based on their professional decisions, on the quantum of loss. So it is done professionally, it's done independently. But the point is that when there is a claim happening, so all the members from the contractual perspective, from the AKAD is concerned, all agreed that we tabarung, the money that we have paid as contribution will be used to pay for the benefit of the one who suffered the loss. So exactly like that. So once you pay the loss, once you have paid the loss at the end of the year, then when you close the account, you'll be able to know whether there is a surplus or whether there is a deficit. So if there is a surplus, then that surplus will then be shared. Number one, between the operator and the participant, because the operator um, does not charge um, at the front the management expenses, the services. You know, the operator will have its own fund, the shareholders' fund, to pay for whatever, to finance whatever costs that the operator will have to incur to establish the company. But over years, they will share the whatever business or the surplus from the pool. In the case of general insurance, we call it general takaful fund. So any surplus of the general takaful fund first will be shared based on the mudarabah concept between the operator as the mudarib and the participant, um, as we call it as the Rasul Mal, or as the provider of fund, on that concept, right? So that was how it started. So we established that. So when we established that in 1984, the first takaful company in 1984 that we established, the most important thing I think, which is a bit unique in Malaysia, is that right from day one, that was the recommendation by the task force, is that there must be a special or a separate separate law to regulate takaful business. If insurance, if banking, I'm talking about conventional part of it, has special law, Insurance Act at that time, or the Banking Act to regulate, to supervise, and to license the conventional banking and the conventional insurance industries. So we felt also that for Takaful, there must be a separate law, separate act, separate regulations to regulate the Takaful insurance or Takaful industry. So now that's how it started. So to me, I think Malaysia was seen to have the integrity and the credibility because right from day one, we have the law to ensure that Takaful is on a level playing field with the insurance industry. So right from the beginning, the public did not perceive to see Takaful to be slightly given a favor by the government. No, no. So when we started, we have to have a certain minimum capital requirement, and that minimum capital requirement follows the requirement set for the conventional industry. If 100 million, then we have to chase for 100 million to ensure that we get a license. So there's no such thing as okay, cool. It is since you are new, okay, we will allow you to have a small capital. No. So right from day one, it was like that. And in terms of other regulations, and mind you, the regulatory body, the agency that regulates and supervises Takaful in Malaysia is the central bank. And so, they are very professional in that respect. So that's how we started. So, and then it is also important, the law is to set that if we have the law, no one can easily say, I'm also offering Takaful business. No, no such thing. Because I had, as I said, as what Dr. Jamil mentioned earlier, I was involved in the setting up of Takaful in Indonesia. It was quite tough because there was no law. I remember, during those days, the earlier days, I even went to see the equivalent of now they have a different name now. DK, Otoritas Keuangan, Jaksa Keuangan, OJK or something like that. But before it was the Ketua Komisaris somewhere in the Ministry of Finance. In fact, they came over to Malaysia and having a discussion with me on how to speed up the establishment of Takaful in Indonesia. And the same thing in other parts. And I tried also to help establish Takaful because we were approached by our brothers in Thailand and Philippines. You cannot, because there's no law there. In fact, in the case of Philippines, I remember we went to Kota Batu and we happened to meet with, at that time, the president, Arroyo Macapagal. And I did say to her, Madam President, you must have a law. If not, we cannot help you establish it. So I don't know. Even up to now, there is no Takaful in the Philippines and in Thailand. It started. We would have two companies over there, but then somehow or other, it did not last long because of the fact that there is no law. So how to ensure that the operation of Takaful in the jurisdiction which has no law to govern to survive? So in Sri Lanka, the same thing, but we managed to strive through. And in Sri Lanka, as you know, it is listed on the Colombo Stock Exchange. In Maldives, they are talking now of having a separate law, of having a law, a kind of law. Now they are talking, not a separate, but a special law to look into. Well, almost 20 years now. But again, in Sri Lanka, in Maldives, it is also Amana Takaful Maldives, a company over there. I'm still on the board. It's also what you call quoted on the Maldives Stock Exchange in Maldives. So that is the position there. Then we report. We wrote the report. The government accepted the report, and I would like to share a little bit of experience when we submitted the report, when handed over the report to the Prime Minister then, which is Dr. Mahathir, that was in 1984. In April 1984, something, if I remember, I cannot remember exactly when, but it was in 1984. We handed over the report to him, three of us, Allah Yarham, Dato Ahmad Ibrahim being the chairman, Allah Yarham, Dato Dr. Abdul Halim, and myself. So we went to the PM's office. Then when we saw the Prime Minister, so this is the report, and in his remark, he said that, gentlemen, since you have recommended that Islamic insurance system can be established in Malaysia, so we will accept that, and we will help to facilitate what we call the establishment of such company. Then, before we left the room, he said, but don't come back to me. I mean, this is what Tun Mahathir said. Don't come back to me after 10 years asking for asking for more money because of mismanagement. So, Alhamdulillah, and if Dr. Jamil may recollect, when we were at Queen, you organized the Langkawi Internet Islamic Financial Conference, live conference, somewhere like that, something like that, in Langkawi every 2 years. And Mahathir was invited to give a keynote address. And I happened to moderate his session. And in the opening remark, I mentioned what I said just now to him. But I told him, luckily, after 10 years, we were listed on the stock exchange, and we never came back to you to asking for more money. So that was history. That's how it developed. So then what happened was that, of course, the company was formed. So going back to what I said earlier, since it is important to ensure that the image of the takaful industry in general does not follow the negative image of insurance industry then. So a number of things that we did was that, for number one, which is very important, the sales side, the marketing side. First, we did not use the agency system. Then, how come? Because the thinking, the perception of most people then was that insurance is bought, it's not sold. Insurance is sold, it's not bought, sorry. Insurance is sold, not bought. In other words, you have to push for people to come and buy your insurance or to take the insurance policy. So we have to change that. As a Muslim, it's good for us to put priority having a takaful. So insurance is bought or takaful is bought rather than sold. So if it is sold, then you have to push, as I said, so you need a lot of salesmen to go out and sell. So we have to find a new way how to do it. So actually, we did not use the agency system as such. So we do not use the agency system. If we do not use the agency system, then the whole process will look different. First, from the perspective of the management expenses. So, in the case of insurance industry, during those days, at that point, because I was then working in the insurance industry, and I knew the cost of what do you call it, management expense, the percentage of management expense on life side, on the life side first, was more than 250% of the first year premium. So in other words, you pay to the agent more than what you receive from your customer or from your policyholder for the first year cost of that particular policyholder join or buy the policy. If the policyholder pays a premium of 1,000, your cost to the agent alone was more than 250, 2,500. So that was the reason why, very simple, from the mathematical or from the actuarial perspective, you cannot, if the policyholder decides to retire, to surrender, or to give up, not to join, not to continue, that particular policyholder will not be able to be paid, to get the refund, not even a single cent from the company, because the company incurs more than what actually the company receives, the insurance company receives. So that was the reason, 200, I mean, the first, as I said just now, the management expense. And once Bank Negara, in the case of Malaysia, once Bank Negara took over the supervisory authority, then certain restrictions, certain regulatory requirements were then imposed. So the first thing I remember was that Bank Negara had a control on how much the first year management expense should be. They control it, they reduce it. So in the case of general insurance, if you look at the business at that time, more than 80% actually concentrated on motor business. And motor business, the claim is very high. The claim for motor alone exceeded 150%. In other words, if you take the motor policy alone, the motor premium is not enough to pay the claim, because of the fact that the motor portfolio has the long tail liability, which is the third party liability. But in the case of third party liability, there is a reinsurance. How they arrange the reinsurance. But if you look at the general takaful fund per se, looking at the motor alone, actually it's not enough. It's a deficit. So again, how can an insurance company be able to share whatever surplus with the policyholder? So that was the image at that time. So we were thinking that all those negative features should not be present once we have takaful. So therefore, number one, we have a group of people who go out and solicit for business, but we don't call them agents. Okay? We pay them a small salary, and we don't, the incentive, we do not take from the, the contribution paid by the participant. In the case of, in both cases. So how do we make money? But I tell you, as we all say, barakah can be found in textbook. We started the business. At that time, we call it the composite company. That means the company is given a license to operate both general takaful and what we call is family takaful. Family means the life side. Under one. Now, the law requires two separate entities. One for life, or one for family, and one for general. So during those days, it was a composite under one management. In the first year, we lost. We just start shop, just opened up shop. Obviously, there were a number of preliminary expenses that we have to incur. So it will take some time to cover that cost. But Alhamdulillah, in the second year, we broke even. We broke even. In the third year, we make a small profit, and in the fourth year, we pay dividend to the shareholders. That was our experience. And then I would like to share with you also on who were the shareholders. You see, during those days, at the early stage, the system Takaful was very, very new, very fresh. We were, we did not recommend then to open up to individuals because individuals may want return, quick return. And we were not sure at that time, when we started, whether it's going to make money quickly or not. Then we therefore recommended to the government that the shareholders should be Islamic institutions. In Malaysia, as you know, we have 14 states under the Federation of Malaysia, 40 states. So in each state, the affairs of the religious matters are in the hand of individual sultans. So each state has its own religious council. We call it Islamic Religious Council. These are non-government sort of bodies, not directly government bodies. So this majlis or these councils, they are actually basically what they do is to collect zakat and whatnot, wakaf and whatnot. So even up to now, they are doing the same thing. So they have money, but being an Islamic institution, they will not be easily or simple enough for them to just put money anywhere they like, which may attract riba income. So the first priority, we recommended that the shareholders be from these councils. There are 14 states, as I said, 14 councils over in Malaysia. And then, of course, we have Tabung Haji, the Pilgrimage Fund Board. And, of course, Bank Islam, when we established, we were established in 1984. Bank Islam was incorporated in 1983. So, 1 year ahead of us. So they were already established. And they were supposed also to be the shareholder. But eventually, the government decided to hand over everything to Bank Islam to ensure the establishment of Takaful. So at the Bank Islam level, we follow the recommendation of the task force. Tabung Haji at that point of time did not come because they were already major shareholder in Bank Islam. So it was Bank Islam holding 51% at that time, and 49% came over from the various or the respective councils, religious Islamic councils of the various states in Malaysia. That's how the position. And then, of course, 10 years later, in 1994, 1995, something like that, we became a public company. We listed on the stock exchange. And, of course, the shareholder then grew, and there were also individuals and whatnot. So that's how it started, it began. And the question was then, okay, let me tell you the operation. Because as I said, when we first started, we used the Mudarabah model of business. In other words, I give you a simple example. For example, I think in my what you call slide there is a graph somewhere down there. If you could look into it, there is a graph. Yes. So if you can refer to the graph, we call it General Takaful Mudarabah model. So you can see there, the contract is between the company, which is the Takaful operator, and the participant. Okay? So the company, the participant will come in and participate in, say, in any of the, talking general first, to cover his asset, say a house or a car or a vehicle. So he will agree to pay a certain sum of contribution, and that contribution will go into the general Takaful fund. It will go into the general Takaful fund. Then the fund, the company will not leave it idle. It will invest. It will be invested. The fund will first be invested. Then, inshallah, if it is managed properly, there'll be a profit from the investment, and that profit will then be credited back to the fund. Right? So, as I said earlier, what is the purpose of that fund? The purpose of a person participating in the takaful product, what is the purpose? Is to cover, in case something happened to him, at least, he will be able to enjoy certain monetary benefits to cover the loss. So first, we call it operational cost of takaful. First is the claim. And then, in the case of takaful, it is not advisable. In fact, it is a suicide. I would say, you're killing yourself if the company does not arrange for a support from another takaful or a re-takaful company, which what you call as, and it is a normal business in insurance. We share the risk with another insurance entity. Then there are specialist entity, we call it reinsurance. So this is international company, and big reinsurance, in fact, bigger than banking. They own bank, in fact, in Europe. So they are very big. For example, in Germany, we call it Munich Re. In Switzerland, we call it Swiss Re. So there are many reinsurance companies. So that part of the cost, we share the risk. So in other words, we pay part of the contribution that the company receives from the participant to be paid for the cover for the sharing of that risk with the retakaful or the reinsurance company concerned. And then, of course, you have to put aside a certain reserve. This is very important to have a reserve. Reserve, in the case of takaful, will carry two parts. Number one is that reserve for unearned, unreported claim. Okay? You see what happened in business, particularly in motor. As I said, in motor business, there is a liability. There's a long tail liability. But sometimes when an accident happens, the participant would not immediately report to us. Sometimes they did not report at all. If they knock on someone and they are okay, but the other party and a third party suffers a loss, of course, it is against the law not to report. But there are cases, or there were cases, not many now, they simply go away, they didn't report. Then all of a sudden, after 1 or 2 years, we receive a claim, a legal claim from the lawyer or something like that of the third party, the grief third party, saying that they suffered a loss and one other. And of course, we have to ensure that that is properly handled. If not, the cost will escalate because it becomes a legal case, a court case, and whatnot. So these are the third party liability, which is long tail, which is unreported. So therefore, we must make sure that we have at least enough reserve to cover. If we have to pay later, then we must not pay from today's money. So the important principle is that in managing insurance business or takaful business, to pay yesterday's loss from yesterday's money, not to pay yesterday's loss from today's money. That is the principle. So that's why I said it is important that modern management, that done professionally, is important. The modern management principles are to be upheld at all times. So the reserve is very important. Okay. So then, if, for example, in this case, say we have over a period of 1 year, we have 1,000 participants. Again, an example, a simple example. There could be 300 those participants covering their houses, fire and whatnot. Another 500 for motor vehicles. So another, say, 200 accident and whatnot. And all of them, they pay, say, $5 million of contribution. So that 5 million will go into the Takaful fund. Okay, it go into the Takaful fund. That Takaful fund will then be invested. Okay, so the investment, so 5 million after 1 year, say if the return is 10%, 500,000. So the profit of 500,000 will then be credited back to the fund. So the fund now has augmented to be 5.5 million, 5,500,000. And out of that 5,500,000, we have to pay claims. Say from 300 those taking to cover their houses, say 100 lodge a claim, and say we pay 1 million. And then out of 500 motor participants, say 300 also incur claims, losses, accident, repair, and whatnot. And for example, we pay another 1 million. So now already 2 million from 5.5 million. The money now left is 3.2 million. Then the same thing for the accident group of participants. So we say again from 200, say 50 of them suffered an accident, and we pay another million. So 3 million paid in terms of claims. All right. Then, as I said, the 5.5 million, the total fund, we paid out 3 million already. So we have left another 2.5 million. Then I mentioned earlier about the re-takaful cost. That is a cost of running or managing of takaful business. So that cost will be taken out into the account as a cost of the operation of takaful. So that cost is, we have to pay re-takaful. There are certain rates and whatnot. There is a certain way of doing it, and the rate is already more or less set up by both parties, between the cedent, which is takaful operator, and the reinsurer or the re-takaful operator. Say 500,000, and the what you call the unreported claims reserve, another 500,000. So now the total cost is 4 million. So we have a surplus of 1.5 million. That surplus will then first, in our way of doing things then, we share that, because that is the profit of the business. That is the profit of the business. So since the contract is based on al-mudarabah, so therefore that is subject to the mudarabah sharing agreement. So the sharing agreement then was 60-40 or something like that. So we take 40%. Okay. So 40%, if it is 1 million left, so we take 400,000. So that is the profit, which is then credited into the shareholders fund, belongs to the company. And the balance of 600,000 for the participant. So the participant will be entitled to share of that 600,000. But who are the participants? That is the condition. Participants who do not incur claim. That means participants who do not, they are not claimants. That's what we practice. So as an example, at that time, a participant would enjoy a return of around 25%. You know, they pay 1,000. At the end of the year, they will receive 250 Malaysian ringgit back in terms of the profit sharing or the surplus that they earn or that they get or they enjoy from the takaful company at that time. So going back to what Professor Ahmad Ibrahim said, enjoy free cover. Yeah, if every year the amount of contribution is 1,000, and we assume that every year, if there is no claim for that particular participant, he will get back 250,000, and every year after, and then on the fourth year, he will get back 1,000 that he had paid. So the fifth year contribution or the fifth year participation, you would enjoy more or less free. So that's what the meaning of free cover. or that was stated by Allahyarham Professor Ahmad Ibrahim. That how we started in Malaysia, and it went well. In the case of shareholders, they were also enjoying the dividends because, as I said, we make profits and we pay dividend to the shareholders. That was until I left the company. I left the industry in Malaysia. For 20 years in Malaysia, that was the model that we adopted. But somehow or other, now they change. I don't know, because, of course, Sharia allows. Sharia allows. I must say that we put up to the Sharia because there are now other models, they call it wakalah model. So the wakalah model simply means that the company acts as your agent, as the participant agent. Therefore, the company, the operator, will be entitled to a certain fee. So the fee is deducted from your contribution upfront. You ask me why? I don't know, because probably the company can ensure that they'll get the return quickly. That may be the reason. But my criticism is only that it shows that there is no difference between between insurance and takaful. That's what the perception now. If you look around, that's exactly happening in the case of Malaysia. I mean, I'm talking about in Malaysia. But then in other jurisdictions in Indonesia, the same thing. Because it is probably they think that it's quite difficult to operate the Mudarabah model there because we need agency. So agency means we have to use the contribution to pay to the agent. So they will have to deduct upfront. Therefore, it is better for us to adopt or to use the wakalah model rather than the mudarabah model. So that is in a nutshell how we operated in Malaysia. But what I would like to stress is that probably before I conclude is that we had the credibility right from the beginning. Number one, because we have the law, the act, the Takaful Act 1984. Of course, now it is under what we call it, Bafia or something like that. Islamic banking, something that Islamic banking, Islamic finance. Sorry, Islamic finance act, something like that. Yes. So so they combine under one now for banking as well as for insurance, if I'm not mistaken. So it is not like before. I mean, before still the law is more tighter now. It's better now. It's stronger now. Of course, over the years through experience we improve it. But then they have reviewed the thing and they have a different name. But what I'm saying is that right from beginning we have the law to govern the operation of takaful, like Islamic banking earlier also. So that makes us more credible. And as a result of that, I remember during those days, I was 20 years heading the takaful company here. I met a lot of people coming from all over the world. I remember from South Africa. I went to South Africa, tried to establish there. From Bangladesh. So, they were so excited to see how we will be able to help them. And alhamdulillah, in a small way, I think I have done a little bit to bring takaful to the world. So I think I have covered enough in terms of the experience that we went through in establishing takaful in Malaysia. And I'm also happy to see that takaful has flourished in most of the world, particularly the Islamic countries. And I hope that they will continue well and prosper for the sake of the Ummah. Thank you, Dato. If there are any, we can share our, our experience, and if there is any clarification and whatnot, if I can attempt to answer. I have honor to do so. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dato Fadli, so for sharing all your experiences in the field of takaful. I feel that I was in the 80s together with you, to share all your problems in the setting up of the company, which is not easy for the young people who just left the university to think of all these problems, in setting up a company which never established in the country, especially the Islamic system. So it has
Yes.
to be approved by the cabinet, if I'm not wrong.
Yes,
You have
correct.
to, yeah, it was brought to the prime minister, and later on it brought to the cabinet. The support from the government is very much needed for the establishment, and of course we need a leader, the people who understand the industry in the industry. As you
Yes.
mentioned, there were not many people, not many Muslim who are in the industry. I think you are
Correct,
very
correct.
fortunate. Yeah, you are very fortunate to have this kind of experience when you were in England and you were in the Malaysian insurance company and so on. So this kind of thing, I think we have learned a lot from you. So I think I don't want to analyze more. We have about 20 minutes to 30 minutes maybe, depending on the number of people who like to ask questions. So you can ask question by raising hand. Sister Juaria will let you speak.
Sorry, Dato, to unmute, Dato. Sorry. Unmute yourself, Dato, unmute yourself.
Yeah, sorry, you can raise your hand. You can raise your hand. Sister Juaria will unmute you. And of course,
Okay,
you can
yeah.
also ask question to the chat box. I don't know. I'm not sure whether Dato Fadli was born in the BC, the year of BC. Can look at the chat box.
I think I would like to add, I missed something just now.
Yeah, yeah,
I think it's important. When we did the study, when the task force did the study, first I must say that it is not a feasibility study. It is not a feasibility study because a feasibility study normally would have to be compared with one already established.
yes,
So it was a try and error sort of study.
yeah,
The gut feeling is that, inshallah, Allah is with you, is that we say we can do it. And takaful, I think, can be survived in Malaysia. So
yeah,
that see, as simple as that. So it is not a feasibility study. If there, maybe there are participants who wants to know whether it is a feasibility study. No. It is not a feasibility study. Thank you, thank you.
yeah. We don't have the models. We don't have the law.
Yeah,
Especially in other countries who do not have the law, they cannot establish.
sure,
So
sure.
proceed. Our brothers and sisters who would like to ask question.
Please.
There's one person here, Abdullahi.
Yes.
He has been waiting in the group since I think about
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum
yes.
assalam wa rahmatullah.
First of all, I would like to appreciate for wonderful presentation, for wonderful session. It's for us, it's honor to have a father of Islamic takaful industry today in our session. Jazakumullahu khairan wa barakallahu fikum. So I am from Kyrgyzstan. It's a Central Asia, and I
Yeah. Yes.
established this year the takaful window, the first takaful window in legislation level in CIS countries, among the CIS countries, and we are apply a hybrid model, Wakala Wakf model. And
Okay.
my
All right.
question My question is related to agency fees. In your example, you show that in Malaysia, you use 10% as an agency fees from Takaful Operator Fund, right? And
Yeah.
nowadays, it's in Kyrgyzstan, it's very difficult to compete with conventional insurance because they provide much more percentage of agency fees. How do you how is what is your recommendation? How can we apply our marketing strategy as a first established Takaful window company? Thank you.
This is not a real Sharia question. It is more of a business, what you call decision that you have to make. Since you adopt the hybrid model, therefore you can charge a certain fee from the contribution to pay your agency cost. You said just now in Malaysia 10%. I'm not sure whether that is the correct not. I think more than that. But the point is that under that model, you are allowed to charge or to deduct a certain percentage from the contribution paid by the participant to pay to your agents. Probably because we tried in Malaysia, as I said, when I started it, we tried. We use the shareholders fund to pay part of the agency to the we do call agents, we call it special executive. We pay them a salary, and there's a basic salary, a baseline salary, and that salary coming from the shareholders fund. But in your case, if you can do that, use that base salary to pay from your shareholders fund and to top it up from the from the contribution based on your hybrid model. Probably you can do that, because I think it is important if you want to survive and that you are not seen to be like the insurance company. Your image is your image, that your first image, the initial image to begin with. You must begin with a different set of outlook, not the same like your conventional brother. If you know that the conventional brother has a lot of problems, why should you still keep on emulating them? Try to do a different way of altogether. That's one. And number two, I think, which is also important, that you must honor every year to be able to share the surplus. And if you could share that surplus and you can make it visible, show to the world that you mean what you are doing, then inshallah, I think you will grow. For example, as I told you, in Maldives, I think they adopt the same thing, the company that I'm still on the board, this hybrid model. And I was on the board, I'm still on the board. I always insist upon that, pay and publicize and show to the world that you actually meant what you say when you share surplus. Because the conventional does not do that. So that will what do you call give confidence and credibility to you. I think that's very important. You haven't started yet in Kyrgyzstan. You haven't started in Kyrgyzstan yet. I was in 2023. I was in Uzbekistan, and inshallah, Uzbekistan will have what do you call Takaful soon. Inshallah. I don't know whether there is anyone from Uzbekistan or not among us.
I am from Kyrgyzstan, and we also traveled to Uzbekistan, but Uzbekistan, they haven't legislation base. They haven't any law, but we implemented. In Kyrgyzstan, we implemented 2006 with the help of Islamic Development Bank. And
the ICD. The ICD, is it? The ICD? Islamic Bank, the ICB
Yeah.
group, isn't it? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah, I know.
and
I know. Yes. Okay, all right. Yeah, I
dear
hope that,
professor, I have another question. I
yes,
have
please.
another question. You when you use Mudaraba model, you invest in different kinds of businesses, right? And
Yep.
can you tell about what kind of businesses it?
Okay,
What
number
of
one. Okay, yeah, number
yeah,
one, when we first started in Malaysia, as I said, there is the law, there is the regulation. All right. So in Malaysia at that time, the conventional is a statutory requirement for any conventional insurance at that time to what you call invest in what you call as treasury bills, TBs, issued by the government. And if I'm not mistaken, during those days, 25%. But 25% of the fund has to be in treasury bills. It's a security, strong and whatnot, government. But treasury bills, as you know, is not Sharia compliant. So when we establish what you call takaful, right from day one, there is the law said that we cannot be involved in treasury bills. So what we have, government in Malaysia, that's where I think the government must be involved. They they have this uh, government government investment GIC, government investment certificate, which is Sharia compliant. It's a government papers like a treasury bill, but during those days, or like you have sukuks now. So, but then issued by the government. So we were allowed to invest 20% at that time. Then other than that, we work closely with banks. For example, banks would require Islamic banks. I'm talking about Islamic banks. Islamic banks would require a fund. They may not have enough fund. So we have syndicated financing with them. We participated with them. We buy properties. We buy properties. So we house our officers and whatnot. What do you call in those properties that we bought, and we opened up branches all over Malaysia. So we bought most of it in good places, in attractive locations. We bought properties. Essentially, those are that. And of course, we put money in the bank. But those are the things that we undertook. Thank you.
Any more questions in the chat box? Can you, Sister Joria, can you read the question in the chat box?
Yes, Dato. Sure.
Yeah.
We have many questions for in the chat box. Let me find from the first one. Okay. The question from Afrad. Yeah. He asked, could this how can the balance between the element be maintained and audited? Okay, from Maraj Ahmad. The question number one, he asked, what criteria are used to determine if a company is compliant, non-compliant, or under review? Is there a publicly available set of guideline for the status? Dato' Fadli, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, but the question is not very clear. But if I can understand from the question, is that how could we determine and takaful operator is Sharia compliant or not? Basically, that's the question.
Yeah, I think basically.
Basically, of course, you must have one, the Sharia Council. The Sharia Council must be independent. Sharia Council is independent of the board. So in Malaysia, Sharia Council must be the appointment of Sharia Council has to get the approval of the authority by the regulator. So you have, and they have their period. I'm not sure now, but during those days, every 3 years, and of course renewable. So it is not for life. It's not perpetual. That's one. And of course, then you have the auditor. So you have to do nowadays. All companies are run on base risk audit system. So you have audit risk audit or auditing for computer for IIIT. You have audit for the whole company, finance and whatnot, the operation of the company and whatnot, the corporate entity. And then you have another one for takaful or Islamic banking, the Sharia audit. So you have to do it regularly, and then at the same time, in the case of Malaysia, I know, and some jurisdiction that I'm involved, the regulatory authority also would come and inspect you. So you must make sure that what you do are Sharia compliant, and of course, before you do that, to ensure that you are proactive, any issue, any project, any proposal, or any plan that you want to launch, that you want to introduce, the company wants to introduce, first you have to do a proper paper, then you have to deliberate it, present it to your Sharia council, apart from your board. From board, of course, it is important to get the board approved from the business perspective. But you must also get the decision of your Sharia council, whether it is Sharia compliant or not. So if all those are complied, all those followed, I don't see how you are not Sharia compliant. And it is advisable for you to check the operation yearly by your Sharia audit. So there must be an auditor for your operation on the company, on the corporate side. There must also be a Sharia auditor.
And
Thank you.
also, Dato,
Yeah.
one more question from Brother Abdul Rahim. His question is, in Wakaf model, why the contributor entitled to surplus profit when their entitled intention is for charity?
As I said, the charity actually coming when there is a claim of other fellow participant, then you agree to donate. And then at the end of the year, if the business has surplus, so that surplus will then be shared with the participant. So to me, it's nothing wrong. Um, that is the business of takaful. There is surplus, we enjoy that surplus. But if there is a deficit because of big losses suffered by our fellow participant, Alhamdulillah, then we sincerely agree that we donate and help them. So I don't think that's against Sharia. In fact, Sharia probably, I think, appreciates that. Thank you.
There is many question in the chat box, but we have leave only 3 minutes. So
I think
maybe we have to pick one or two more questions
one or
only.
two more is okay. Since
Okay.
it's a break for half an hour, Dato Badri. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Okay, one more question from Sister Bibi Jan. Salam Dato, thanks for the sharing. Will there be any new initiative from Malaysia to start global wakaf to help our global ummah? That question number 1.
I can't speak on behalf of my Wakaf fraternity, but I know I have a friend who is involved on the what they call the global Wakaf forum or global Wakaf sort of operation, and that question should be directed to him. Perhaps Dato Jamil should organize another what do you call conference like this on Wakaf, and you
Okay,
may invite him to speak.
I
You may
realize
invite
it's
him
a
to
very
speak.
important
Yeah.
topic.
Okay, I will introduce him to you if when the time comes.
Maybe another
Inshallah.
question?
Yeah.
Inshallah. So the question from Imran Arshad, he asking, is it mandatory for all compliant to be Sharia compliant in Malaysia, or it's still volunteer?
It is a must. It is compulsory that we have to follow the Sharia requirement, unless it's a new thing, and we will not be able to get support to ensure that it is Sharia compliance. I give an example. Perhaps the question that to me you should ask is that when you first started, there was no Syariah what do you call the takaful was not Syariah compliant. There was no takaful operation which is truly Syariah. True, there was no. You see, when we started, we have to rely on the takaful or support from conventional, international, reputed reinsurance services. For example, I give you the name Munich Re. These are world reputed big, and the broker is in New York. I forgot the name already. We used to deal with. Yes, we discussed it at great length at the Sharia Council. Takaful, as I earlier mentioned, is a must. If if a takaful company or takaful operator do not want or does not want to have takaful because of the fact that at that point of time there is no reinsurance or takaful that is compliant with Sharia, then we are committing suicide. I don't think we can last even 1 month. Give you an example. When you cover a motor vehicle or say we don't ride plane at the time, aircraft we don't ride. We cover say one house or one big building complex, shopping complexes, and one motor vehicle, private motor vehicle, not a passenger carrying vehicle, say for example. And how much did we charge the contribution? Maybe 2,000-3,000 ringgit Malaysia or 2,000-3,000 US dollar. But if there is a claim, say there is a big fire to the complex or to the house, the loss could reach millions. So if you don't have full support at that time, where are you going to get the money to pay the claims? Even you may have to use all your shareholders' fund, and maybe not enough. So if that happens, and without a full support, you are committing suicide. And at the end of the day, takaful service cannot sustain. And who is to be blamed? We are to be blamed. Muslims are to be blamed. So we discussed it. It is a must. We have to have it. So, but then at that point of time, there was none takaful based on Sharia compliance. So we have to rely on the conventional, established, well-reputed reinsurance services overseas, internationally. Based on the fact that that's the reason why the Sharia allows it, but there are conditions. So that's the reason why I want to show to them that it's very important that takaful, and you will not be able to get coming back to the Sharia compliant. As I said, of course we have to be Sharia compliant in all aspects, except when we will not be able to get that services to ensure that we will follow the Sharia. Thank you.
Yeah, Dato. There is a brother. There is the hand. Abimbola. Can you unmute yourself? brother Abimbola Ismail. Can you unmute yourself? You have a question? Okay, and another brothers, I'm not sure brothers or sister. Nanang Roshidin. Can you unmute yourself? You have a question?
Hello, Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam.
Yes, yes, sorry, I'm on my way.
This muted now. Nanang, please unmute.
Yeah, I'm unmute myself. Thank you very much, Dato. I'm really sorry I couldn't open my camera because I'm driving right now. But I really
Yeah, I can hear you.
appreciate
I can
on
hear you. I can hear you.
yes, I
Where,
really appreciate your explanation. Yes,
where are
I'm
you
new to
from?
this and it I'm from Indonesia.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very clear and I'm really happy that you explain your experience about this takapul. However, I didn't get any explanation related to the insurance associated with the health insurance? I think you keep mentioning several times
Oh,
about the motor insurance or the property insurance. Is this takapul also is
yes.
health insurance part of a good areas where the takapul can benefit from it? This is one. Number two, because right now we are working on the wakaf for developing, let's say, the hospital. So hospital based on wakaf fund. I think if during the operation of this hospital based on the wakaf fund, the takapul can also work in insuring people who comes to the hospital. I think it will be a very good match in terms of the operation. But if you can kindly explain to us takapul in this sector, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, Dato.
Very simple, short. Health is just a product. So therefore, Takaful can provide what we call as medical and health Takaful products, which we have. We have. Of course, whether operator wants to introduce the product or not, to provide and offer the product or not, is a business. It's a business. Uh, the only thing that you must know the business, because normally the claims are fairly high for health product, and if you are not careful, a lot of abuses, in particularly the group product. I don't want to go into detail. A lot of abuses. Those are not covered will also go to the hospital, and when the hospital knew that this particular person has a takaful cover, they will increase the what they call the medical cost. So it is a business decision. It's not a Sharia issue. You mentioned about wakaf. In fact, to me, wakaf is a takaful product. You see, Takaful can offer a wakaf product. Then the participant can, what you call, assign the benefit to an institution like the hospital. So I take this Takaful product for the purpose of assigning the benefits if I die, or if the period of takaful is matured, then whatever proceeds from the takaful will then be will be assigned. The word assign may not be proper to the bodies, to the hospital, so that the hospital can use the money or the proceeds to pay for whatever medical costs. Then you mention to whom? Or to the general public. No, that's not the problem. So what you do now, this is marketing. This is a marketing operation rather than a Sharia or business operation. So the body concerned, the takaful operator, uh, will have to sit down together with the hospital or with any institution on how they would able to use takaful to help each other to promote the business for both of the institutions. It's no problem. It can be used.
MashaAllah. Thank you very much, Dato. I think one last question because we have passed of the time. From Brother Nasir, you can unmute yourself.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Salam.
Thank you, Doctor, also an associate prof. In the course of the discussion, you made mention that the CAFO, you talk about the claims. So my question goes, I want to find out, is there any specific timeline, as in regarding the Sharia, for the claim to be paid, if there is, based on Sharia, maybe like 1 week or 2 weeks?
Oh, you're talking about your claim. Where are you from? You have muted yourself. I want to know which country you from.
I'm from Nigeria. We have a lot of Takaf and more are coming.
So you know Nur Takaful? Have you
Yes,
heard about Nur Takaful? Huh?
I know Nur, there is Takafu, we have Kram, we have Salam.
Yeah, Nur Takaful. I was involved in the in its incorporation.
MashaAllah.
Okay. Anyway, number one, usually the guideline is set by the regulator, right?
Yes.
So if there is a claim, okay, first one, individual takaful operators should have its own SOP. Should have its own SOP. You know, they should have a what they call a claim guideline. You know, how many days and whatnot. Okay, and then at the same time, that guideline must be approved by Sharia. You have to, the SOP must be tabled to the Sharia Council. So therefore, that Sharia should know, should be well versed in terms of the timeline required for a claim to be settled. Yes, they have. But in jurisdiction like Malaysia, it is not only internally you have, but the regulator also set certain times. All right, and there are certain procedure, you know, in Malaysia. For example, in Malaysia, because I was involved, I used to be board of the company that is concerned. You see, in the case of Malaysia, example, I don't know Nigeria, although I was on the board of No Takaful for a while, but you know, at that time it was early. What happened is that if the participant met with an accident, say the worst one is the motor accident. So if it is not injured, nothing happened to him. It's only his motor vehicle is what you call damage. He will have to report within 24 hours to the insurance company. You have to report. But now modern technology, very simple. You can call. Then with all the gadgets and whatnot, you can show the picture and whatnot. You know, you just WhatsApp. Of course, there is a form, and then the company will then accept the report, will look at it, and they will engage an adjuster to determine the loss. But in Malaysia, you know, there is a body called MRC, a company which provides claim system. That claim system will also determine in terms. I was involved in the company. I was on the board of that company until the late last year. It was 20 over years. See, the company will then determine what will be the cost of the items or the parts damaged and what is the cost to be repaired. And then it is only also will determine the cost of repair and the time of repair. So we have all this in Malaysia. So want to say that that is very Sharia compliant. So whatever modern principles, as I said, apply to ensure good governance, that is strongly upheld by Sharia. Thank you.
Sorry, sir. Second question.
Good morning.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think any more,
I
Jala?
think
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. There's a from brother Abdul Bola.
I think last one. They must be last one.
Can be
Yeah,
last one because Dato has some other program.
Yeah.
Good morning, sir. Now, my name is Abimbola Ismail from Nigeria. I'm Nigerian.
Yes. Okay, carry on.
Yes, my question goes like, when there's one brother that was talking about Wakfu, so, and he said, okay, Wakfu, when those that distributed this Wakfu, So when the market, maybe the something is much, so how will they entitled to such? Okay, why we did entitled to surplus profit? So when the initial intention is for charity, but my question is that for that person, so for the one that contributed something in workful, that particular person, is it not when we contributed anything in workful, that thing is like when you are giving a charity. So it means that a person is not allowed to go back to what he has given in charity, or to take in what he has given as charity, or to take back, or maybe to dwell in something that he has given as charity. So how does that one comply with Islamic injunctions? So that is my question. That is the first question I have. That okay, can someone that has given something in charity still benefit from that same thing? So that is my first question. The second question goes that okay, as a student of Islamic finance, as a student of Islamic finance, there are something that okay you have to put into practice that can make people benefit from you in your environment. So what, due to your own experience and your vast experiences throughout the world, and you have worked in many places, so how what exactly advice what exactly advice you can give to a student of Islamic finance? Okay, you can do this, you can do this, you can do that, you can do that, just to make people to benefit from you in your society. So that is my second question. Thank you very much. Barakallahu fikum.
Thank you. I think I don't think I can answer your question on the work. You better ask a Sharia scholar then. Whether eventually as a contributor you can use that. I have already explained to you just now that essentially, or you are not giving back, or you are not receiving back the surplus of your own money. It is a surplus of the operation. That's all. In other words, the company wants to give back the money to you. As simple as that. So I think in detail, you better ask a proper Sharia scholar. I'm not a Sharia scholar. On the second question, I can understand what you say. It was not very clear.
I said that the student of Islamic finance. So what, maybe you have many experiences. What that person, there are some thing that okay you can do to benefit, that will be a practical aspect that okay people can benefit from you in your society.
Speak
So
slowly,
maybe
please.
okay.
Speak slowly, please, and don't not too long. What? I don't understand what you're asking.
Okay, for a student of Islamic finance.
That has been answered, Brother Abim Bola.
Yes,
Okay, thank you
I'm
very
with you.
much. I think Dr. Fadli has given his views on this. Thank you very much, Dato. So I'm sure all the participants benefited a lot from your 1.5 hours lecture. And inshallah, if we have more time in the future, if Dato has time, inshallah, we will invite him to this kind of program, inshallah. So thank you very much, Dato, on behalf of
Thank you.
the participants, on behalf of the IIIT East and Southeast Asia. And we end our meeting with Tasbih Kifara in Surah Al-As, inshallah.
Subhanallah. Subhanallah.
Wal'asim.
وعامل الصالح وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله
Thank
وبركاته.
you, Dato. And after this, your student will be giving a lecture. But inshallah. So,
Assalamualaikum, Dato Fadli.
yes, your student is coming.
Is that you?
Jov, yeah, Muhammad Jov.
Oh,
Wah, Dato Muhammad Fadli. Assalamualaikum.
In Gambia.
Why you have disappeared from me?
I'm so happy to see you. You are looking much younger, sir.
Now I want to see you personally. You came over to Malaysia, so you want to see me. I knew you were in Malaysia.
He can meet the Prime Minister only as his level
Okay.
now.
All right. All the best. All the best, Chief. All the best. Huh? Thanks, Dato.